Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about something that I feel like most people don't talk about when it comes to babies and infants and breastfeeding or pumping, and that would be dairy sensitivity. I had a friend who had a baby who had a dairy sensitivity, but the symptom that she mentioned, my baby never had, but we realized later that he actually does have a dairy sensitivity. And so he had a few symptoms that actually indicate a dairy sensitivity. Now I say sensitivity rather than allergy because that is the words my pediatrician used for my child when we brought this up to her. So the reason I bring this up is I wanted to give you the 3 symptoms my kid had that nobody talks about that can indicate a dairy sensitivity, and I wish someone would have warned me and let me know wasn't a normal thing for a baby to go through. So number 1, and this is going to be kind of gross, but it's the biggest sign that your kid has some sort of sensitivity in their gut. This isn't just dairy, this is in general, and that would be mucousy poop. Now, newborn poop can be very, very runny and yellow and even at times maybe a little mucousy, but if you're seeing consistent mucousy poops, that is a red flag and you may want to bring it up to your pediatrician. Now, I want to put in a disclaimer here. I am not a pediatrician. I'm not a doctor. This is just signs that I noticed in my son that I didn't even know were indicating that he had a dairy sensitivity. So he had all of these mucousy poops. It started from the time he was an infant to pretty much until we realized it. And we didn't realize anything was wrong except that his spit up was also very intense. So that's symptom number 2. So number 1 was the poop being very mucousy. Number 2 is a lot of consistent spit up, no matter how long you're waiting to feed or how much you burp, no matter how long you wait to do tummy time after they eat this, that, they just spit up a good amount. And I don't mean projectile. My son never projectile spit up, but it was consistent and it never got better. It continued to get a bit worse. And thank God it never got super terrible, but he would spit up and it would get on everything. It would get on his outfits, on our carpet, couches, burp cloths, you name it, it got on it. And so I Googled everything I could. I looked things up and lo and behold, nothing. I found nothing that said that's pretty normal, and we even go to the chiropractor to get him adjusted because that actually can help with spit up. But unfortunately, it continued even though we were going to the chiropractor. And so eventually I decided to cut out dairy, and it took a few days and I watched as his spit up went lower and his poops changed. And so those were 2 of the symptoms. Now the 3rd symptom, and I may not be necessarily listing these in the best way or explaining this in the best way, but I want to at least list them. Number 3 would be his face. So we thought he had a teething rash, and he's had a teething rash off and on because he's teethed very early. He's 6 months and he already has 5 teeth. We thought he was getting a teething rash on his face. What alerted me that the rash on his face was not teething, and I'll show you a picture of it here, of his teething, of the rash he gets on his face when he has dairy. The reason I knew it was no longer teething was because he would get it immediately after or immediately upon breastfeeding. And I don't mean like in a few minutes after or an hour after. I mean literally he would latch, start to drink, and immediately his face super red. His cheeks super red up into his hairline. He's got very blonde hair, so you can see right through it, and it goes up to here. It's this splotchy red rash. And so I kept Googling and eventually I really believe it was God kind of just telling me, look it up. And so I Googled dairy allergy rash or dairy sensitivity rash, and I saw all these kids that had very similar poop photos and facial rashes similar to my son. And so that's when I messaged my friend and told her the symptoms I noticed in my son. Her child had also had some blood in their stool, which is also a red flag. I didn't realize that my child may have had blood in his stool. It didn't look like blood. It just looked like little black specks. And when I did further research and learning and talked to my pediatrician, found out that actually could be blood in the stool. That's not normal. That's not something that is okay. And so after talking to my friend, I decided, all right, I'm going to cut out dairy. We're going to hardcore cut it off. I did that. His poop completely changed. He stopped pooping as frequently, and it was no longer mucousy. Like all the mucousy poop that I thought was normal stopped, and it was normal baby poop. His rash on his face went away. He no longer gets that rash when I breastfeed him, and his spit up is much less. He still spits up, he's a baby, but it's much, much less. My baby has had a tendency to have some reflux issues, and so we're working on building his gut microbiome and all of those things. But that's what I wanted to share, as well as I want to add this in there that for my child, with his dairy sensitivity, it is so sensitive. If I have so much as a bite of dairy, and I mean cheese, butter, milk, any of it, it can be extremely tough on his gut. And so literally yesterday I had a bite of a burger with cheese. I completely spaced, forgot that this was an issue. I just didn't think. Had a bite, and then literally the next time he breastfed, his face flared up. Horrible, super red, and I felt so bad because it was one bite. Literally, I was taking the second bite and I remembered, and I spit it out, didn't eat it. One bite of a burger with some cheese immediately. And thankfully, because it was such a small amount, it got out of my system very, very quickly, and he's fine now. But I just wanted to share that because it's not something that people talk about, and it is a really big issue. Or not a huge issue, but you don't want your kid having that sensitivity and you don't realize it, and you're disrupting their gut microbiome. It's not building properly, it's interfering with that. And my son also had a little bit of trouble putting on weight, so that could have even been another symptom. I don't know if that's a sign of it, but I wouldn't be surprised if the fact that he couldn't gain weight well was because I was pretty heavy on dairy as well. But I just wanted to share that a little bit and talk about that a little bit. And please let me know in the comments if you've dealt with this, things that helped you get through it or helped rebuild your child's gut after dealing with this. It was definitely a tough thing for me, but I have to go. My baby just woke up from his last nap, so I gotta go get him. But I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I will see you guys in the next one.